All right, shall we go?
Once this kicks off, I think we're ready to go.
All right, well. Came out, you can't hear it.
Maybe works. Okay.
Oh, okay, that's okay. What a great trip.
Yeah, I pulled one out, but I have pulled the other one. It's those cables that have the ball. Sure, sure. No. Yes, pardon us. Thank you. Do we want to? I'm sure.
Well, probably not need Greetings. Greetings. Hello, welcome. So glad to see you here. I know it's hard to get here sometimes, especially on a weeknight at this time. So thank you for coming. And I just want to welcome you on behalf of the Poets Laureate program and the library. And I want to express gratitude to all the different organizations that sponsor our workshops, including the Library Foundation, the Friends of the Library, Poets and Writers, Women Who Submit, the Academy of American Poets, and the Mellon Foundation. I'm going to start actually with the land acknowledgement. The Altadena Library District acknowledges its presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded land of the Gabrielino Tongva peoples. Altadena is located on the stolen homelands of the Hagamonga tribal band. The traditional territory of the Gabrielino Tongva is referred to Tavangar, which includes the areas currently known as Los Angeles County, Riverside County, West San Bernardino County, parts of Orange County, as well as the 4 Southern Channel Islands. Entities such as the U.S. government and non-native settlers have subjected the Gabrielino Tongva peoples to historic and continuing injustices, including genocide, forced displacement, and cultural linguistic erasure. Altadena Library commits to learning, educating, and informing its staff and residents of present-day Altadena about the rich histories, vibrant communities, and culture of the Gabrielino Tongva people, present and past. Before I introduce my co-poet laureate and also our wonderful workshop leader, Shonda, I'm going to just mention a couple upcoming events. We have our Ode to the Land series, which brings together people 55 and up, but anyone is welcome, and high school students. And our next workshop is with Bonnie S. Kaplan, who is an amazing poet, artist, storyteller, and she's teaching a workshop, Home is Where the Art Is, this Saturday from 11 to 1 p.m. And I hope you'll consider coming to that. We also have coming up in January, Nature as Metaphor with Teresa Maychuk, part of the same series. Please come. We always have food. It's Saturday from 11 to 1, so you won't miss lunch. And then we have a reading, an Ode to the Land reading, which will feature Shonda Buchanan, Xochitl Bermejo, as well as we hope some youth and senior poets who have written some poems through this program, perhaps some of you. And what else? I'm going to introduce Peter J. Harris from who is the co-poet laureate and the editor-in-chief, and he's going to talk a little bit about the Altadena Poetry Review Anthology, which is still open. The deadline's coming up. So you might write a poem today you'll want to submit. Okay. Peter, are you there? Let's see.
I think so.
Okay, we're going to get your face up there in a second.
Mhm.
You talk.
I'm here. All I see is a screen share.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you can't see us, but we can see you and we can.
Okay.
So please talk to us.
Well, welcome to everyone. I'm zooming in from Central Florida, where I'm currently living and in recovery from an illness that many of you know I got sapped with before I left. I'm excited that Shonda is going to be tapping into the great work of Octavia Butler. And so I'm going to be muting myself after I say hi. As for the anthology, yes, we are receiving work. Right now, we're not reading or making decisions yet. The deadline for acceptance is October 31st, 2023. Somehow, a date, probably my fault, since I'm the one in transition. Somehow, a couple of messages have gone out that the deadline extends to 24, but the actual deadline is October 31. We'll be publishing work from last year's online review, poems drawn from the so-called synergy portfolio, ekphrastic work, synergistic work that folks wrote in response to artwork that we published. This anthology, however, is open. There are no restrictions except those in the call, basically one-page poems. You can submit up to 2 poems. It's not much more fancy than that. If we dig the poems, we'll publish them. If we don't think they move us, especially since our space will be short, the book will be about 200 pages, then we won't publish the work. It's an exciting way to close out our year 2 as laureates. And along with the great ode to the land schedule that Carla magnificently crafted after I got ill. So we had to sort of contract our biggest vision. We think we'll have a beautiful, concise, and creative anthology to close out the year and to close out our season. Soon we'll be excited to invite applications for the successors, our successors. But tonight I just wanted to make sure I'm here. I've known Shonda for a long time. She's a brilliant poet, cultural worker, and I look forward to learning from her tonight. Okay, great to talk with you all and have a great workshop.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you so much, Peter. And I'm reading a very short bio for Shonda, but if you just go online and look her up, you will see she is amazing. Read her work. Take a look. There's so much more than these 2 sentences, but I'm going to give this to you now. Pushcart Prize nominee Shonda Buchanan is author of Black Indian, a beautiful memoir, chosen by PBS NewsHour as a top 20 books to read to learn about institutional racism. A professor at Loyola Marymount University, Shonda's forthcoming books are The Lost Songs of Nina Simone and Children of the Mixed Blood Trail. Thank you. Just welcome, Shonda.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So today, if you read the flyer, you know we are going to either write a poem for Octavia Butler, or we're going to write a flash fiction in the vein of Octavia Butler. So, but I want to just be both of the spheres of Octavia. So what do we know about Octavia? So what do you know about her? You can jot this down for you. Let's see what her spirit is. Has anyone ever met her? Yeah. Tell us about the meeting, how we felt, how she felt. Tell us.
She came to a workshop that an organization, the writers group that I belong to in LA, created. And she was just bigger than life. She kind of swept in, and we were spellbound for over an hour in her stories. She had a great presence about her. She was born in Pasadena and grew up here. But I think Pasadena was too small for her. And I do know that her first writings, it was a fantasy, science fiction. And she wrote it because she'd seen a movie. There was no one in it that looked like her. And she said, I can do better than that. And she wanted to write herself as well. Greater self.
And she's pretty big, and definitely from presidents of the graduates. Yes, at the same time. Has anyone else met Octavia? What was the name of it? Have you? Oh, that's okay. Let's talk about it. No, I can't. Anyone else? Anyone else? We need to know about Octavia. I know you raised them to find, and I could say. Yeah, so she was in your high school, local, down the street. So we read Kindred instead of Altadena and Altadena, which is I'm so happy she captured it so happy. But I love all like Carol and Slaves. Carol is so I love Carol books. I also love Legend. I know a lot of people talk about Legend. I really love Legend. And I love this book when Legend about her sky. I really love that book because it really gets into her head, what she was thinking when she was writing, how she built her confidence as a writer, and how despite all the odds against her, she can see pictures where she's the only Black person and see white people at science fiction conferences. And how, you know, she really felt isolated and alone, but she didn't care. This is my space, I'm gonna be here, I'm gonna do this. And she didn't have a lot of money, she only rode the bus, she didn't drive. She hung out at the downtown LA library, and we've been meeting her, she had, so the Huntington has all her papers, and they did a whole, you know, installation about her life. And it really made me have a lot more understanding of how tough her life was. You know, I think her mother raised her alone, but never discouraged her from being a writer. And so I found myself sometimes when I was reading O'Neill's George's book, kind of crying, because, you know, sometimes we complain because we don't have fill in the blank, but she really didn't have a lot to work with, and she was out there doing it. And what I really liked is she wrote her own voice. She wrote her own voice. She didn't try to replicate what somebody else was doing or anything. She did her stuff, and people had to come. And I think she would say this at one point: if they don't like it, it's if you're not ready for it yet. It's not like I'm going to change what I write. So I really, I mean, I could talk all night over wine, but I love that. I really, look at her as a role model for writing. Yeah, like, you know, coming from different cultural experiences, but any parable of Sower, any of those, just pick up one and just start, and then just going upstairs and just start. Oh, that's fantastic. Tell me what we thought differently from everyone else. It's so interesting. I do have a bit of a bio here that I constructed. But I was looking at it from the point of view where I have done a lot of research on her, and I wanted to do a biography as well. So I have a proposal to do a biography, so we'll see. But I pulled this information because we don't talk about this part of her life. So when Octavia Butler's grandmother, Eloise, died, migrated to Victorville, California in the mid-1930s with 6 children, no husband. And I call it closed mouth about the cats. And she simply wanted to start over. So this is her grandmother. She told her family without telling them why they were moving here. So born in Jim Crow South in Lafayette, Louisiana, Eloise worked hard, scraping by while the country entered World War II in 1930. So raised by her domestic worker mother and a strict Baptist grandmother, in difficult volatile times for African Americans who demanded equal votes. During the nation's formation of secret intelligence and budding national awareness of the quote-unquote alien existence, Butler's award-winning science fiction is replete with motifs, possibilities, dangers, and triumphs of the 20th and 21st century. After exploring Butler's life, we draft poems in this workshop and also flex fiction to capture one or several moments in her life with Butler, and her writing journey, as well as writing about those. So Octavia was born in 19. Make sure, because I have my cheat sheet here just to make sure I got my. Yes, here it is. Okay. So just to give you some facts about her, she was born in 1947 in Altadena, California, where it's a segregated town. And again, this is where Blacks could only swim in the pool in Pasadena on the eastern beach before it was drained. And then when it was drained and refilled, then the white people would swim in the pool. And again, only Black people could swim in that pool. So that was the time that she grew up. She's the daughter of a domestic mother and a shoe shine father. Her father was a shoe shine, shining shoes. She watched her mother being treated. Her mother was a domestic worker, and she watched her mother being treated disrespectfully by the white woman that she worked for. There were times in her writing where she would talk about how she would go with her mom to the houses, and sometimes, you know, there wouldn't be nice treatment. So she was a quiet child, but she internalized that there's an inequality here, but she couldn't actually think. She was so shy. There's a saying that Octavia had in one of her essays. She said, I was so shy that I always had my head down. And there was a realization of her, how she didn't know that she always had her head down because she was so shy, because she was always studying her feet. And then someone was like, you're gonna trip. You know, you're gonna trip, even though you're watching your feet, you're not looking at you're not looking around you. But she was very efficient. It took a lot for her to actually talk to people, to interact with people. She was actually shy in her life. And so I'll come back to that. So as a child, she was dyslexic, but she was also, of course, throughout her life, dyslexic, painfully shy. She was bullied and harassed. She said she thought to herself that she was dumb and ugly and vain. And then I saw the report cards when I was doing my research. She got C's and D's in grades, probably because she was dyslexic. Right, and there wasn't at that time when she was growing up, there wasn't a sense of let's help this child or let's send this child to a special, place where they can learn. Okay. She used to carry a pink notebook around with her that she jotted down her ideas, her stories. And she grew up, that pink notebook helped her become a ridiculous notebook. And she was very methodical with the research. So she only published 9 books because she wrote so slowly, and she was researching the entire book. So it's really incredible. So you mentioned that she wrote her first story at 12 after watching Devil Girl from Mars. And she was sitting down watching it, and she said, writing first. And so she wrote, she was like, okay, let me just go ahead and do that. And so she started writing. And she realized it was a moment of a self-defining moment. And when she was shy, she could still be powerful. So that was a really powerful moment for her. And then she won a school poetry contest in high school. That gave her a sense of confidence. But she lived her life really as a struggling writer, living with her mom, attended Altadena City College, Mirrored High School. She received an AA in English, attended university at UCLA, but she never finished at school. She left because she said, I don't want to be a writer. Why am I studying English? The only classes she enjoyed at UCLA was writing courses. It was the only courses she enjoyed. And she's like, I'm gonna write. I need to go and write. So she published her first short story at 18, began honing her writing about people of color, the Cold War, we'll talk about that, power, society, and I'm gonna say quote unquote alien, but then also human independence. And I'm doing the air quotes because when I interviewed Octavia in her home, this is after her mother passed in, oh my gosh, it was for the LAUP, so what was that, 1998, somewhere around here. And I was very intimidated. And she, very, I'm like, I don't know, how can I break the ice? There's no breaking the ice, And then I told her I was a writer. And that's when she started really like her, treatment and answering my question, as opposed to asking a question when I asked a question. But one thing that she said to me, it was like she said, no, I'm going to book about which I not Karen Master. It was one of the series. And she said, when I wrote that, I was just thinking about aliens. How the human would approach the alien, and it's a whole conversation. And then she looked at me. He's like, oh, really? She said, well, really? I said, well, what do you mean? Well, if something the human hands are baby aliens, oh, the human is an alien. So she was always thinking that. She was always thinking that. Okay, so just a couple more points here. She continued publishing her books for Penny. In fact, her first book that she published, she put her initials on the envelope. So it wasn't Octavia Cassell Butler, it was O.E. Butler. Because she didn't want people to know she was a woman, she didn't want any association with being an African American woman. And even when I asked her the question, I said, did you experience racism as a sci-fi writer? And she said, she's like, no, I don't feel like I experienced a lot of racism because they didn't know who I was. So I mean, but that's what she said to me then. That's in French. So in terms of her awards, she never married, she never had a public relationship that I ever saw. I was brave enough to ask her if she had ever. I don't know where I got the one she was. But I asked her, I said, have you ever thought about getting married? And she said, I was dating someone. But whenever he would look at me, look at my company, she said, I feel something. And then I was writing, and then he said to me, well, if you get married, you want me to do that. And she said, well, I thought, I don't need to do this relationship. So I let that go. So, and I mean, and luckily I have this recorded. So when I go back to write my book. But I mean, just really interesting interaction for her to sacrifice relationships for art and craft. She won the MacArthur grant, and when she won the MacArthur grant in 1995, she paid off another mortgage. She took trips to Peru to do research. It was a relief for her. She'd been so poor as a writer. She would go to school during the day and she would work for night job. So she had a job as do you all know what kind of jobs that she had? What kind of other jobs? At one point she had a job as a continuous right. So she actually incorporated some of that in like a couple of those moments. So she had really minuscule jobs to help pay your bills and pay for from mothers. Whatever medicine her mom needed and for the food. But when she won that MacArthur, that took her over, not over the top, but it put her into kind of relax. Not as much struggle as a fighter, I'll say it like that. And then she moved to Seattle in 2004. And in 2006, she died of a freak accident outside the park. Does anyone know how she well, what I heard is that she fell in her head. And like nobody fell in it. She probably had a food. But she was supposed to be the one city that was supposed to have dinner. So I got an entire basketball team, even one from the other teams. We're gonna all go see in public. I got them all reading the book. We were all reading Kinder. And then she died, and we were just shocked. And we didn't even know her, but people were. The mom was crying, all the basketball moms, but when we were kids, they're kids, but the moms were crying when they fell on the book. So if you actually got to meet her, we didn't get to meet her, we were just excited to meet her. And I remember it was a big deal when she stepped to the book. So yeah, that's the story I don't know if that's true. That's what happened. She fell outside her home, and then no one found her. And what's tragic and weird is that it was almost like the kinds of work that she writes, and how something is a little twist and not in it. And it was almost like that. When I heard of how she thought that's nothing possible. The last book that she wrote was Fledgling. Which Fledgling is, if you haven't read any of her work, I'd say just trying to start at the beginning. If not, you can. For me, my favorites are Parable of the Sower is one of my favorite books. Pattern Master is one of my favorite books. I see them nodding. Which ones do you love? I love Parable of the Sower and the Earth Seed. Wild Seed is one of my favorite books. Wild Seed is amazing. Shifting, right? Yeah. What other? Well, what I'm most frequently listening to the Earth Seed series. I love the way that he used mythology in that book without like I don't know the word for it, but without doubting that it existed. But it was very real and like blended into the book and believe like. So there's a term that is associated with Octavia Butler's work, transmortification. So transmortification is ultimately it's kind of a blend between a non-human entity and someone else, right? So Even in, which was it, I don't think it was a master, I can't think of the title. So, an astronaut went to space. His ship crashed on Earth. Is this Master? No, I think it's, I can see the title, I just can't remember it. The ship crashed on Earth. His daughter, he brought a virus back. His daughter who had leukemia. He was in contact with her, and the daughter who had leukemia, he gave the virus to her, and it healed her and made her strong. The daughter who didn't have anything, she was, but forgive me, I remember this like 20 years ago, but she became weaker than, I'm not sure if she died. But the alien virus blended with her, with her DNA, and it made her stronger, and it made her, I don't want to say almost savage, that wasn't the word, but it made her fearless, basically. So if you haven't heard that, that's one she was. Okay, yes.
I have a question. Is she mainly science fiction?
So she actually called it new country when I asked her, what is it like to be a sci-fi writer? And she was like, well, I don't think I'm a sci-fi writer. I think I'm a new country. I think what I'm writing will be happening soon. And I mean, hence Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Servants. And so, yeah. So thank you for that. But yes, so yes to your question, you know, she won a lot of sci-fi awards, Nebula Award, for her writing, but it was, the thing was that she wrote us all into the future. She wrote mixed race, she wrote women into the future, she wrote everyone into the future.
Can't do it. So then just
So something happens. So let's get to the workshop. So I gave you a lot of information about Altadena. We've got a little bit about the family here. So I have the paragraph on your handout. Oh, and I'm so sorry. You know what? Because let me show you what an ode poem looks like. And I brought in an old school poem. And many of you might recognize this poem, and we're only going to read the first 2 stanzas. Oh, does everyone know what a stanza is? Does anyone not know what a stanza is? Should I explain it?
Well, yeah, explain it.
Okay, sure. So a stanza is the paragraph of poetry. So essentially, this entire body is considered a stanza. Then there's a space right there.
Okay.
And then let's see, if I go down, you'll see that there's a stanza right here, and then there's a space between.
Okay.
So that's ultimately what a stanza is. Okay, and we'll read a couple of these stanzas, which is a poem that I, in college, high school and college, we read this poem a gabillion times. And it's an ode. So when we're thinking about an ode poem ultimately is just giving praise to someone. And in fact, I have a definition here for the ode poem. Originating in ancient Greece, ode poems were originally performed publicly to celebrate athletic victories. Later, this poetic form was favored among English Romantic poets who used odes to express emotions, using rich and descriptive language. And then today we use the term ode pretty much for a lot of kind of homage type feelings, but to describe an outpouring of praise. And what is that? Oh yeah, modern ode poems have evolved to include various styles and forms. So we don't have to write in iambic pentameter. That's not what we're going to be doing here, rhyming or rhyme schemes. Can I get one person to read just this stanza, and then we'll do just the second stanza, just to see the language of the ode. One person. Can I volunteer? Can I, can you see that? No, you can't see that. Can I see you closer? Yes.
Now still unravished, bride of quietness. Thou foster child of silence and slow time. Sylvan historian who does express a flowery tale more sweetly than our rhyme. What we fringed legend taught about thy shape, of beauties or mortals or foes, in Tempe or the gales of our food. What men or gods are these?
What made him fly? What God pursued? What struggle to escape? What hikes and temples? What wild ecstasy?
Okay, the next stanza.
Heard melody that's sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, you speak, he is himself veiled. Not to the sensual will of faith, more in dear faith, spirit believed unto you. Pray you, we refuse, thou canst not believe. Hold, never, canst not taste. O ringing will go yet through the field. She has been paid, though thou hast not been forever without love. She will be paid.
Thank you. And we're just going to read those first two stanzas in the interest of time. But where do you see the language of praise or the language of appreciation, or even a sense of there's a phrase in English, in the English sonnet, it's called blazon, blazon. The blazon means that you're talking something up, like my mistress' eyes. I'm sorry, that's anti-blazon. The blazon, my mistress' eyes are beautiful. Her hair is gold and silver, right? So the blazon is like talking someone up, and the anti-blazon is like tearing them down. But so where do you see the language of kind of talking someone up, or language of praise? Just in the first couple of stanzas, anyway. Yes.
In the very first line, now still unravished from unravished by things that she's probably virtuous. She's I don't know if that's second line.
Yeah, isn't that kind of beautiful? My foster child is Solomon's and slow to Sylvan the story, you can't thus express what flowers are speaking. So there's something happening with someone who's chased. And then there's a description of this person in his it keeps his English in his language. And then the flowery tale, more sweet. There's a lot of like sweet and you can feel the texture in the words, and then also I love the deities or mortals or both. So there's a question of what we French legends talks about shape. So there's a mystery. There's a mystery there. So I love that. Anything else you want to point out? Anything else? In terms of the language of praise.
Essentially, we did. He actually uses the word, not to the sensual,
And then there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think that's 7. Bold lover, never canst thou kiss. So there's like there's a dance. There's a dance in the language. There's a dance in the phrase. There's a way in which he's describing something without actually telling us what it is. Yes.
Yeah, there's the question sound kind of like music.
Yeah.
And it gives you like, I don't know, like waltzing or something.
I love that. You can hear the syncopation or the rhythm. I love that. Thank you. So that's an older, tried and true old poem. And here is a sample of a contemporary poem that I wrote for Nina Simone. And for me, the book that it came from, the entire book is an old book to Nina Simone, but it's contemporary. So you'll see there's no rhyming, but we'll look at the language. Oh, if anyone else wants to read it, yeah, me? Okay, all right, I'm reading it. When a child comes from the dirt, from the earth, from the cool body rain of poverty and layers of cold laughter, from Indians and Africans colliding and damaged, rock, from music, so much music that her head filled with the Gospels, Holy Ghost, with whole notes and whale bones and carrots and Egyptian gold, from deformed hearts of white slave masters and black men last kisses, from cornflower blue sky slit by a cotton field sun, and babies, all the black babies sold away from their enslaved mothers fall from the blinding hole in God's sky, playing the dozens and emancipation dreams folded neatly into squares at Lincoln's memorialized feet, statues of Confederate soldiers she never saw, but knew she had to hide from. When music and unsafe and shadow memories are your food, you have no choice but to become the river winding. So I know it's a bit of a different poem in terms of praise, but is there any place that you see the praise language or the old language? And I could go up to the top. It's called, so I have two back to back like that. So what's this? Oh, Becoming the River. Yeah. This book comes out next year. It's cool. Yeah, when I was writing this poem and I knew I said, okay, I know this is going to be the way Nina Simone sings and has lived her life. There's the beauty. There's always a little, there's always a little something. There's sugar, and the way she makes us feel when she's singing, and then when she gets off stage, there's something. And so I wanted to get underneath her singing with this poem, but then also show that there was a beautiful, she had a beautiful experience with music, so much music, and her head was filled with the gospel of Holy Ghost, gospel's Holy Ghost. And the way she sings reminds me of the holy notes and whale bones and carrots and Egyptian gold. So I just kept like massaging that feeling that I wanted to give her the beauty, even though, there would be the pain as well. Anything else you want to point out in this poem that deals with praise?
Essentially changes the music, but she would be a bird for me. She would just go gracious.
Literally and figuratively. Yeah, she would. Really, and we loved her, but she could be the angel. Her music would come to that, the duality, right? That duality. That's sensibility. It's interesting because I'm thinking of doing an essay, the difficult woman I love, because there's Altadena and Tony Wilson. So it's like, and so why shouldn't, and difficult in a positive way, like the difficult woman I love. Right? This is wrong woman that I love, and so maybe I'll find another word for difficult or make it more interesting. So we've got, I'll tell you about their information. We've got the definition of the ode and a couple of examples. Now I'm going to turn to what I have on in the table. How many of you want to write a poem? How many of you think you want to write a poem? Okay, you have 10 minutes. We don't have it done yet. So, because I do have a prompt for the flash fiction stuff. Okay. So if you look at the top of this paper, it says part 2 writing exercises.
And then I've got the background material here to use for your poem. And if you go to the middle, it says writing exercise 1. Can everyone see that one? Writing exercise 1, old poem to Octavia. And then of course, eventually you read it. So I'm gonna ask you all on your own to reread that background, the background paragraphs about Octavia Butler. So if you one above, get the one right above it. And then you can choose either the author as your focus for your poem. You can choose her grandmother, or you can choose her mother. And I'd like you to rewrite, and I'm saying 10 minutes, but maybe like 6 or 7 minutes. Rewrite about the character, that character in the time period. So again, you can also choose to write about both the mother and the grandmother, or Octavia and her mother. Or you can write about all three if you like. So you can write about Octavia, where she came from, or the grandmother, where she came from, or the relationship that she had with her mother. How many really kind of relationship she had with her mother? Well, I have it here. Do you want to have any more information? Do you like? Okay. So as you write, I would like you to start thinking about the sensory details. So I'd like you to show the story with imagery, dialogue, and sensory details, the smell of the day, what her, oh, I'm sorry, I don't sorry, what her there, that should be there, life or live, was or like, what she might have looked like, so what actually lived like, the experiences she had, good and bad. And then maybe the clothing that she wore in the she was born in 1947 in Pasadena. What kind of clothing did she wear? And what year did she have? And she died in 2006. 2006. Thank you so much. Yes, 2006. 2006. Yeah. She was 56. So that's my first prompt is to rewrite first about Octavia. And then the next part of that, we're going to fill out the specific lines from that rewrite, and then we'll do it. So I'll let you rewrite first of all, and then pull up an image. And does anyone have any questions? Let's just like rewrite about her using your imagination from what we talked about and what you think her life was like as a child. Seeing her swim with him, the relationship with her mom, going to the Baptist church, running in his mirror, straight backwards. As well. And let me see if I can pull up an image.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, yes.
This is kind of over my head.
I was like, some people don't know what she did. Yeah.
Right, so what you're saying is, do we write in paragraph form to begin with?
Thank you for clarifying that. How do you verify that? When I say rewrite, it's really like, just keep writing, keep the pen on the paper, there's one of paper, just keep going until the, there's much you need to do that. Thank you. Yep, so this is Octavia Butler. She's older.
Yeah, intimidating. I hear it.
So he talked. She's really mindful.
So remember, we're imagining how life is imagining. And now, we check that last part, last sentence. And now turn to, I'm trying to, let's make sure we're. But now turn to part two, I'm sorry, number two, is a next pull out the most vivid lines from that tree light. And try to put them in the stand between them. So if you can get, if you get two things, if that's okay, or three, but try to compress the thing right to a poem that has 4 to 6 lines in a stanza. And I have, I'm so sorry, I have 4 to 6 stanzas and 6 to 8 lines per. But if you can get 3 lines per stanza, that's the thing is up. And now let's try to compress it into poem form. And I'll pull up the poem form. So you can see the stanza. We can actually use. We can use this as a model.
And I've got some suggestions about how to write this number, so it's suggested format, I'm sorry, type of format. So right underneath it, I have a standard one. You can include images, and you can show images, dialogue, any kind of synergy detail that you have created. So you can make that the stanza one, the lines, maybe 4 lines. Stanza 2. I said, add any personal knowledge and information that you have about her. And you really know who wants to know about her. You can say, this is my first time doing a new stuff. This is my first time hearing about this job. So if you want to write about what you don't know and not knowing, people who know. See the video app. Stanza 3, I say, add a societal moment. Maybe in comics society. At that time, we were treated up to here, or the mother or the brother. Stand the 4, you begin to do stand for the concept, actually its challenges, that she heard in the child. everyone. And, I think I was gonna access to reading, but I think I wanna go into the flash fiction portion, and that way you can choose what you want to read. So, you have a handout, at your table, when it says the budget. This is, from a book called Kindred by Altadena. They just came out with the movie, TV series, what, a couple months ago. Everyone wants to TV series. What was the name of it? Kindred. What is it? Kindred. It's a little Kindred, is it? I know the book, I'm reading that already. It's not really not, it's been read now. So Kindred, yes, Kindred. The book is out, yes, the book is. The book is amazing. That's what my big. Kindred, so. I'd like to, if we could, everybody maybe take a pair of them. And then, I can set the story up, but I don't want to give you a little. So let's just read first, and this is chapter 1. There is a prologue, but I decided to go with chapter 1 first. So, we already started over the Peter. And I don't, if you guys don't want to just maybe send me say it when you want to read. Okay. The trouble began long before Canaan. When I became aware of it, the dream night, the day I was in, it was my 26th day. It was also the day I was in, the day he told me to be. Kevin and I had not planned to do anything this way. Meeting will go to tired. On the day before we were moved from our apartment to the family issue, the movie was the vibration to me. We were still on, we were about her hours. Kevin would stop when he got his office. Now he's always there. Either looking or thinking, because I really hear this. Finally, we came out to the living room and so it looks like the one kitchen. We have slowly looked.
What's the matter? I asked him. Nothing. We sat down on the floor near where I was working, just struggling with my own difficulty. You know, I had half a dozen ideas for that Christmas story yesterday during the movie. And none now when there's time to write them down. Not a one. We picked up a book, opened it, and turned a few pages. I picked up another book and tapped him on the shoulder with it. When he looked up, surprised, I put a stack of nonfiction down in front of him He stared at it unhappily. Hell, why'd I come out here? To get more ideas. After all, they come to you when you're busy. He gave me a look, and I knew, but I knew wasn't as malevolent as it seemed. He had the kind of pale, almost colorless eyes that made him seem distant and angry, whether he was or not. He used them to intimidate people, strangers. I grinned at him and went back to work. After a moment, he took the nonfiction to another bookcase and began showing. I beg to push him. Another book, another box full, and skated quickly as I began to get it on me. The rooms and the blur and darkness around me. And standing back to the front, and then wondering. What happened? For those my garden discovered that I could not believe them. Something is wrong with me, I know. I heard him move toward me, saw a blur of gray hands and blue shirt. Then, just before he would have touched me again. The house, the books, everything again. Suddenly, I was outdoors kneeling on the ground in the trees. I was in a green place. I was at the edge of the woods. Before me was a wide, tranquil river. And near the middle of that river was a child splashing, screaming, drowning. I reacted to the child in trouble. And later I could ask questions, tried to find out where I was, what had happened. Now I went to help the child. I ran down to the river, waded into the water, full of foam, and slapped the fish silent. He was in front of the commander. A small red-haired boy floating face down. I turned him over, got a good hold on him, so that his hand was above water and spoke to him. There was a red-haired woman waiting for us on the shore. Or rather she was running back and forth crying. The moment she saw that I was waiting, she ran out and took the boy from me, carried him the rest of the way, even me and the family. He's not breathing to speak. Artemis was up the bridge and seen him as being told about it, but I have never. Now it's a night. The little woman knows no one else could fight. On the reached shore and danced to a He was no more than 4 or 5 years old. I put him down on his back, took his head back, and began to talk to mouth. I saw his chest move as I breathed into him. Then suddenly the woman began breathing. "You killed my baby," she screamed. "You killed him." I turned and managed to catch her pounding fist. "Stop it," I shouted, putting all the authority that could into my voice. "He's alive." Was he? I couldn't tell. He got letting me alive. The boy's alive. You're letting me talk to him. I pushed her away, glad she would have small and I was, and turned my attention back to her. Between breaths, I saw her staring at me. Then she dropped to her knees and like, moments later, the boy began reading and talking, children were throwing up, and coming to his mother. If you could do that, I was like, if you could do all that, you would all right. I sat back from him, feeling like the deep. "He's alive," cried the woman. She grabbed him and was telling me, "Oh, Mr. Every man has different life and what it is." When we saw that it was his mother who held him, he clung to her, screaming as loudly as he could. There was nothing wrong with his voice. Anyway, then suddenly there was another voice. What the devil was going on here? A man's voice, angry and demanding. I turned, startled, and found myself looking down the barrel of the longest rifle I had ever seen. I heard a metallic click, and I froze, thinking I was going to be shot for saving the boy's life. I was going to die. I tried to speak, but my voice was coming on. I felt sick and dizzy. My vision blurred so badly I could not distinguish the gun or the face of the man behind it. I heard the woman speak sharply, but I was too far gone into sickness and panic to understand what she said. Then the man, the woman, the boy, the gun, all vanished. I was kneeling in the living room of my own house again, several feet from where I had fallen minutes before. I was back at home, wet and muddy, but intact. Across the room, Kevin stood frozen, staring at the spot where I had been. How long had he been there, Kevin? He spun around and faced me. What the hell? How did you get over there? He whispered. Altadena, you came over to me, touched me tentatively, as though he wasn't sure I was real. Then he grabbed me by the shoulders and held me tightly. What happened? I reached up, listened to the tell me. Don't leave. Tell me. Trying to be good. Trying to be good. I won't stop it there because it's in the what is it? I don't think that it's as well as everything that we have to so it's for the things. Our body experience us. Certainly the person who is talking about because it's good. Yeah, I mean, she's there. But what's that? You want to talk a little about it? Maybe I think it's one part. It's been given me. I mean, it's always great to read the book. Yeah. It's just, no spoilers. It comes out pretty quick, but it's real. What she goes through. It's not an actual out of body. It's a real disappearing into the past to the experience, which comes back to the present. Myself, so she's back on the floor. And there's a reason. And she said the first time we called it, the first time it was called it. And we continue to call it over the floor. But I'd like you to try to find something in the way this. Is there a moment where you wish you would have disappeared, or do you think you had a moment where you disappeared, or you would think something else? And I have some instructions actually, if you turn the thing over, the writing exercise for you to slash it. So you don't have to count your words, you can be as long as you want, or short as you want. But I'm saying, use something, or write about something that will next to it. Maybe a little telekinesis, right? Which is, I'm telling you this, it's telekinesis. Mind reading, or something that's otherworldly, some side of the world. And then also you want to show us the stories, and you want to show in what she showed. So it's okay if that's they're fascinated there. Or say it first word or two. Some action. If you want to show what people are doing, a little extension, and this is the third of movie. So I have here, I said you read the excerpt. So you can, if you only want to do paragraph 1, you can. So based on the section you read, messages, but
What if you discipline for this group? And it's suddenly transferred out to the mental health. What would you or who would you have to do? Who would you? How would you see that? And then using the elements that potential stories that you know about that. And then I'll stop there, or we can keep reading paragraph 2 and reading 1, and then reading a little bit more instructions to build this book. Any questions? It's free. I don't think we can do that with control. We tried last time and we couldn't do it. No, it's hot when I left. It's a baby before it's the good thing I was doing is when we first got here, we were over and then it was here. And while they were dive bomb. They were dive bombing this, right? Yeah, it's just part of, we're having a big opportunity. Can you tell me again what I like to listen to? So teleportation is when you can transfer. So she technically is teleported, but it's not controlled. People do anything? Oh, thank you so much. Finish up like, once you do like the art. The math student and school. And I would like to hear either your poem or your short story based off of feeling about this. I must say, I just surprised myself. I'm like, what am I writing? Where did I go? So, but I think that's a part of for Octavia. She was again very intense about the story she wanted to tell. And Kindred, the book came from a moment when she was at a Black Power rally. And I believe this is at happening in and someone, a young man was, was chanting, and he was there and participating in the rally. And he said something to her. He said, it was something along the line of, I can't remember verbatim, but it was our ancestors failed us. They should have fought hard. Our ancestors failed us. They should have fought hard. She said, but they didn't say it. It was segregation. They should have fought hard. And that's when she was thinking. She said, I need to stuff it out for myself. But she gave us the black card. So who wants to read? I'm fighting. And if you, oh yes, and if you want, I can bring them right around.
Well, I want to go first because I'm totally intimidated,
I love that you are brave.
but. And I didn't get this far. I'm doing the poem. Okay. Small black child, one of 6. Growing up thinking you were ugly and dumb in a society where your mama fought for dignity. From smallness to a sturdy, commanding woman, one with a mind so creative as to write of the near future to come. You rose from a child who hung her head low, one only allowed to swim on Wednesday when the public pool would be drained thereafter. Your words floated on the page from your dyslexic brain, only to be followed by the powerful words written boldly from your pen.
Oh, wow. And poetry society. Amazing. Oh, well, that's fantastic. I love you soaked in everything, and then you gave it back.
Kind of a hard act to follow. So. Mine is very rough, but. Dear Octavia, what must it have been like for you to grow up in Pasadena on the wrong side of town, wearing clothes, shoes that never quite fit your size, trying to grow up in a world too small, an acorn planted in a box? What were you thinking while peeling potatoes for below minimum wage? Rising before dawn to write about distant worlds that included rich, poor, black, white, humans, aliens, and other beings in between. When we first met, you had written books, won literary awards. You were a tall oak with branches wide enough to shade us all. We needed you to believe we too could create ourselves, our world.
Yeah, submit your comments, yes. On the tables, yes. Go to some people. Who else would like to Yes. Oh, no, you're fine. No, you haven't,
I did a poem for Ophelia because I spent a long time at John Muir High School, but I'm gonna read just the short prose, which I got started right now. She walks along Arroyo Seco, where the river is a trickle wrapped by cement wall. In places, water has pushed past the cement and moss grows. When there are storms, water rushes past the stone, but never for more than 4 feet high. And as she walks, she stares past the barbed fence and wonders how the mountain lions cross from one side to the other. Do they walk on the bridges built by men at 3 a.m. when the city sleeps and the stars twinkle high above? Or do they stand where she is by the barbed wire, longing to explore the dirt trail on the other side? She thinks about 1939 when the river was free and water rushed from the San Gabriel Valley. I think it goes from Venezuela to all the way through Los Angeles to spill onto the docks in Long Beach. A rabbit hops between the purple grass growing wild around her, and she stops in the dirt trail when a gopher pops its head out of a tiny tunnel. She holds still so as not to disturb it, but before she knows, she is in the tunnel, a dark tunnel, thinner and smaller than her finger. But she is now even smaller than her pinky.
Why is it so rich? Oh my gosh. I have, so we have a published author in here as well.
I'll read my poem, even though I actually kind of got some inspiration from my poem for the prose. And then the poem kind of turned into like a spooky little prose story, but I don't have the story together yet, so I'll just read the poem. Horses clop on a dirt sidewalk, parakeets chirping in the trees above. At least it sounds like it, for her gaze is fixated on the alternating hooves and the boots swinging above them. They are both going at a gentle pace, although her long legs could take her much faster. This was her favorite part of the walk after all.
Wow. Beautiful. I really want to hear this spooky prose. Okay, can you hear spooky? Okay, spooky prose. It's almost here too.
And then the spooky prose is, well, I'm not gonna. This one's not really, well, I'm not sure where it's going, so I'm not gonna put any more disclaimers in front of it. Clop, 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 clop. Velvet dusted legs meet the sand 2 at a time. Clop, 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 clop. Fly float out with the swoosh of the horse's tail. As I bike slightly behind the horse, I follow it as it turns right down a curvy, winding road with ranch-style houses and curved driveways. Suddenly, dark clouds rumble above, closing the sky. I lose sight of the horse as the road takes a sharp turn downhill into the left. And then I didn't get finished writing this part, but my bike is gonna like trip, and then I'm gonna fall off the bike, and then the bike is gone. And then I have to like, and then I don't know where it's going from there.
No, you can figure it out, and then it's gonna be on Netflix. And it's gonna go for No, okay. Would anyone else like to read? Okay, it's very.
I'm more of a memoir and poet, so, but this is a flash fiction. I wake up soaking wet by a river. I'm naked and I have long scars on my back. My insides feel shredded and I'm shaking. My legs are so heavy and I can't seem to move them. I ache as if I've run for miles. In the distance, I hear music, but I can't name the sound. Suddenly I hear something. And a man, maybe in his 20s, runs out of the woods behind the river. I'm both embarrassed and terrified, and I have nothing to cover up with. Then he speaks to me, and the words I can't distinguish, but the sound I recognize is Yiddish. Suddenly I hear a clomping of hooves, and the terror I felt lands on the man's face as he begins to pull me up, speaking frantically in a language I can't quite understand, but the meaning is clear. I must run and trust him. Before I begin to run, I'm jolted hard, and suddenly I'm back in our cluttered house in Pasadena. My husband, who once was my wife, is snoring loudly on the couch in the other room. Everything we'd argued about suddenly seems so remote. The last thing I remember is running into the closet, a childhood response to generational chaos, and crying for what seemed like hours.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my gosh. So if there's anyone else that you know, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Just take whatever you wrote today and then continue writing on if you like. And of course, it's an opportunity to write books and then read and work through this. And there's so much history. I think I'm really getting onto the number two. There's so many different onto the number two. I can't believe what he doesn't. But I just have to say, the church that she went to, the house that she lived in, still here. She's buried in the cemetery. Her family, really, when they're, you know, we have them out. You can visit her, you know, her burial.
And support Octavia's bookshop.
Yeah.
And that bookstore.
Yeah, support Octavia's bookshop. It's the visible store, just the myself. Right across from in Washington. Where right north of Washington across from Reading. Yes, but there are some books that are already old and people have already checked out some of them there. That you can check out and do it. Yeah, Shonda flyer. And you know what's really fascinating about the work that you said, it's not all the same. The tone is all different. You know, so we're not always reading, like some writers, you know, a certain tone, and I do like where, but with Octavia, you know, I picked up budgeting, it's something. And all of her, it's they're different from the other books. And so, and she always, but the one thing she does is always brings me that, you know, to the land and to nature and humanity. And I was really trying to that. Yes. And that's, but anyway, they're never there. I'm not sure. I didn't see the ones there. Yeah, they're great to put it. Also different. That's what I would say. And then I'd say lots. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's first living water, the place that we live in. So the favorite, I go on board by now, we were thinking of doing my friends, we have my floor, and going up people and we have them come back. Right? And so, yeah, so that might be a great place to start. Also check out the good crap. Oh, yeah. My book, I should be said, I'm probably walking as well. It's interesting, because there's no sci-fi per se, but there's definitely a sense of business talking about how like every not remains some kind of instruction or something that happens with the yeah, and there's a limiting, it's actually, so the book I have made, there's a lot of there's history, there's beauty about being a body tradition African American arts like here. There's a lot of information about definition and classification of the colors or color. So I have a lot of that in the book too. It's available in the library. So you can check it out. And then actually, I was gonna ask you about that. How much are they? 27. And do you have you give a demo? Yeah. I'll get because I'm going to LA Times so it's myself and I'm going to go over and I think we have this from the state. I want to know what's in the order now. So okay, I'll do that. So I follow you. Oh, yeah, I'm going to my office and follow. It's really important for y'all to do that because you don't buy it on Amazon because I'll know circulate and good reads, you know, it's not on Amazon. Right here. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Yeah. When the first time I done this Octavia workshop with two like poetry and prose, so I was like, okay, I think it would. When I hear your poems and your writing, I'm like, I think it would well. Okay, so great. Peter, are you there? Peter? Oh, he's gone. Yeah, he's gone. So, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for bearing with my freak out.